Everyone, it's Justine. Welcome back to Technique Week, and this is my free class on Distress Inks 101. We're focusing on distress inks only out of the distress line and what you can do with them. So if you really like these videos, be sure to share them on Facebook or click the share button below, pin them to Pinterest, whatever. All the engagement helps me keep these videos going and keep them free. So today, again, we're talking about distress inks, and this is something that a lot of people say, what are distress inks and why do I need them when I already have my own inks? Now, distress inks are not your typical inks, and this is what I look for in an ink if I'm going to invest in a new line of ink. What can it do that my other inks don't do, or what can it do better? Now, there are two types of distress inks. There's mini and regular. They're the same thing, just in different sizes. They're really great for blending techniques. They react really well with water, and you can watercolor with them. They're great for ink techniques, and they're not for typical stamping. So you can see here the size of the mini and the size of the regular. The regular is about 2 by 2 inches and the mini is about 1 by 1. I own both and a mixture. I don't own the same color in both. That's just crazy, but I own both. For the colors I don't use very often, I generally have a small one, and for the colors I use really often, I generally have the larger ink pad. These are also the only inks on the market where I recommend buying the re-inkers, because if you do a lot of technique and a lot of ink pad directly to paper, they will dry out eventually, although I have had some of mine for years and still haven't had that problem. The ones I use often are really great to re-ink often because they'll just get a better effect in the end, and they'll be better for blending and you'll get more of a bold look from them. Now, distress inks, you need a couple of things to be able to use the distress inks, and we're going to go through those right now. So what are the tools of the trade? What do I need when I'm doing distress inks or distress ink techniques? Now, you need obviously distress inks. You may choose to invest in the storage tin for the minis because they do not stack well. You're definitely going to need a blending tool of some sort. Now, there are two blending tools on the market. One is a round brush and one is a rectangular brush. I personally recommend the round brush because they don't give as harsh lines when you make a mistake as the rectangular brush does. So I do recommend this, and I do recommend a sponge or a foam pad for each color you own. They come in a pack full of sponges, and that keeps it inexpensive. I personally would say 3 or 4 of these tools would be ideal. I personally own 2. That way, if you have 3 or 4, you can generally do any of your blending techniques or backgrounds without having to change the sponges in between. So you can just change the sponges by taking them off, and you can store them in the back of the mini inks if you'd like. That's one of the definite advantages of the mini inks over the large ink pads, is you have that sponge storage. Another thing I would say is a must-have, but I guess you don't technically need it, is this sort of craft mat by Ranger, or you can use those things that you can put in your oven if you can find those as well, the ones that you can kind of like a reusable wax paper. It helps the blending tool not only slide over your card better, but it also keeps your surface nice because you can quickly wipe up your mess. Let's go through some blending tips. Now remember, I said it's not used for typical stamping. You can use them for stamping, but they're definitely not the crispest ink when you're stamping. They're mainly used for things like background techniques or mixed media and things like that. So I'm going to give you some blending tips. Now, a typical mistake that people make is starting directly on the paper and also applying a lot of pressure or pressure in general. So what happens when you do that and you start on the paper is you're going to get sort of a dark circle. I'll show you again here where your foam hit, and you're not going to get a nice even blend. So what you have to do is generally you start off the mat, and that's what I said about having this craft mat. It slides easier than going directly on paper. So you tap your brush in, you have your ink on there. I tap it about 3 to 5 times or so on the ink, and then I start off the paper on the slick craft mat, going in a circular motion and applying next to no pressure with my hand. You eventually build up color with distress inks. You don't want to go on dark right away. The building up the color is going to make them blend easier, and it's going to not give you any sort of harsh lines. So again, no pressure on my hand, just going in a circular motion into my paper. Right now I'm using manila cardstock or manila tags from Ranger. It's something that Tim Holtz, when he does his tags, uses all the time because the manila material of the paper works best with distress inks, but you can use them with any of your cardstocks and not have any issues. Now you can also blend distress inks with other colors from the distress line. Now, you want to make sure that these colors, you kind of have to keep your kindergarten knowledge in your head. What colors go together nicely and what colors make icky brown or icky green colors. So one of the ones that I typically go for to make such a beautiful technique when I'm showing this off is an orange and a yellow color. They blend well together, and now I'm going in with a carved pumpkin, and you'll see just how nicely these colors blend together. Now, distress inks are really great for creating fun backgrounds, especially you can create things like night skies, you can create sunsets, you can create nature scenes, absolutely gorgeous things that you can do with these distress inks because they blend so nicely together. You can see that orange and that yellow blend seamlessly together without any issues, and if you wanted to go back in and add a little bit more yellow over top of the orange, it would blend it even more. Now, another thing I mentioned is how well they react with water. Now, distress inks and any dye inks will react with water, but for whatever reason, distress really repels it, and that makes some really interesting techniques. So I'm just kind of doing an exaggerated splatter of water right now, just to show you exactly what they can do. But if you let them sit on there and let them dry, you'll get a really different effect than when you wipe them up right away. So it just depends on the splatter effect you would like to have. So I'm just going to wipe them up just really quickly with a baby wipe because I do have a lot of water on here. I just wanted to exaggerate so the technique would go quickly and you could see exactly what it does in a short amount of time. But you can create a really awesome splatter look on your cards as well. And we're going to explore everything with water and distress inks this week in class as well. Now, some of my favorite combinations, I'm also going to have tag pictures on my blog showing these different colors and how they combine well together. But I wanted to show you just a little bit of my favorite combinations. Now, I'm including all the inks here in the sense that it doesn't matter how new they are. So my favorite rainbow technique is mustard seed, carved pumpkin, picked raspberry, wilted violet, and twisted citron. Those are my favorites to create sort of a rainbow look, but that green, you do have to be careful which color you blend it into. So sometimes I do leave out the lime green twisted citron color. So that's my favorite when going for a really bright and happy look. You can see the card in the corner uses most of these, but I also added broken china for that blue color. Another one of my favorite combinations when creating a night sky is black soot, dusty concord, and chipped sapphire. This creates a really awesome look for really dark night skies. These colors will also generally work with a galaxy background as well, and you can lighten it up if you want to using a little bit of salty ocean as a blue color. Another combination that you can add is take out the salty ocean and then add pine needles and squeezed lemonade to create a northern light style look, which I have shown in the corner there. And lastly, another one of my favorite looks is a sunset or a sunrise look. So it depends on which order the colors are in, whether it becomes a sunset or a sunrise. But mustard seed, spiced marmalade, abandoned coral, and then eventually I sometimes add a little bit of barn door red to the very bottom of it to give it that deep red look. So I hope you enjoyed this introduction to distress inks and you've learned a couple of things about distress inks. We're going to start tomorrow's class doing some background techniques. We're going to be taking a look the following day at water techniques. We're going to look at stenciling, and then we're going to mix them all up together on the last day. And there'll be downloads on my blog every single day except for today for those cards that we've created. All the supplies used are linked to you below in the video description or on my blog. You can click here to visit my blog or supply list. You can click on the moving video there to check out a video using distress inks and stenciling. Or you can click on the right on the subscribe button to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you don't miss another video or another free class. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video as well as share it.